awful zombie.
I'm an awful zombie.
Jeez.
I
Right.
bet he's a zombie killer.
I got an antenna. I have a feeler.
Let me eat it.
You can't eat my feelers. Oh, I can eat your feelers.
Rude. Babe, why is my face all lit up like that?
Because you're with the light.
Well, I had it so they weren't doing that. What did you do?
I had it so they could see us.
Oh, scoot over then.
Technical difficulties. She just jumped and attacked her hand like a ninja.
She had checked my foot.
She's a ninja. Don't do it. Technical difficulties. There. It's a little. Today we're doing Hitchcock.
One of my favorite horror movies.
He's got quite the life, Hitchcock. Alright. Sir Alfred Hitchcock. Well, Sir Alfred Joseph Hitchcock. Was born August 13th, 1899. Died April 29th, 1980. Was an English film director and producer, widely regarded as one of the most influential and extensively studied filmmaker in the history of cinema. Known as Master of Suspense. Master of Suspense. He directed over 50 featured films in a career spanning 6 decades, becoming as well known as any of the actors thanks to his many interviews, his cameo roles in most of the films, and his hosting and producing of the television anthology. Alfred Hitchcock Presents, which ran from 1955 to 1965. His films garnered a total of 46 Oscar nominations and 6 wins.
Whoa. Didn't you always say this? This is his birthday again.
Yeah, but that it...
Hitchcock was born on August 13th, 1899, in the flat above his parents' leased grocer's shop at 517 High Road, Leytonstone, in the outskirts of East London, then part of Essex. The youngest of 3 children, William Daniel, born 1890, Ethel Kathleen or Nellie, born 1892, and Alfred Joseph in 1899.
His parents, Emma Jane Hitchcock and Nee Wellen, or I guess maybe that was her nickname, Nee Wellen.
No, Nay is like, used to be.
So her maiden name was Wellen from 1863 to 1942, and William Edgar Hitchcock from 1862 to 1914 was both Roman Catholics with partial roots in Ireland. William was a greengrocer as his father had been.
Huh?
What is a greengrocer?
Grocery store. You know, vegetables, fruits.
I didn't know if it was like a fruit stand thing or it was like...
Well, no, it's an actual grocery store, but they sell mostly fruits and vegetables. There was a large extended family, including Uncle John Hitchcock, with his 5-bedroom Victorian house on Camping Road, Putney, complete with maid, cook, chauffeur, and gardener. Every summer, John rented a seaside house for the family in Cliftonville, Kent. Hitchcock said that he first became class-conscious there, noticing the differences between tourists and locals.
So you know what rich looked like?
I wish we had somebody that would let us rent a seaside cottage for us.
We have a few times. My parents have.
My family, we always went camping. We didn't get seaside cottages.
Oh, that's fun. Noticing the difference between the... Describing himself as a well-behaved boy, his father called him his little lamb without a spot. Hitchcock said he could not remember ever having a playmate. Oh, he's a sad, lonely boy.
One of his favorite stories for interviewers was about his father sending him to the local police station with a note when he was 5. The policeman looked at the note and locked him in a cell for a few minutes, saying, "This is what we do to naughty boys." The experience left him, he said, with a lifelong fear of policemen.
Aww.
In 1973, he told Tom Snyder that he was scared stiff of anything to do with the law and wouldn't even drive a car in case he got a parking ticket.
Wow, see, I think that would have been a good idea, but never mind. When he was 6, the family moved to a Limehouse and leased 2 stories at 130 and 175 Salem Lane, which they ran as a fish and chip shop, fishmongers, respectively. They lived above the former.
It seems that Hitchcock was 7 when he attended his first school in Howrah House Convent in Poplar. When he entered in 1907, according to Patrick McGilligan, he stayed at Howrah House for at most 2 years. He also attended a convent school, the Woad Street School for the Daughters of Gentlemen and Little Boys, run by the Faithful Companions of Jesus. Briefly attended a primary school near his home, and was for a very short time, when he was 9, a boarder at Salesian College in Battersea.
Why is he going to a daughter's for what?
That's what I didn't understand.
And usually convents are for girls, I thought.
Not the schools. They can be intermingled.
That's weird.
Agreed.
For the daughters of gentlemen and little boys. And little boys. It just still seems weird. The family moved again when he was 11, this time to Stepney, and on October 5th, 1910, Hitchcock was sent to St. Agnes College in Stamford Hill, Tottenham, now in the London borough of Haringey, a Jesuit grammar school with a reputation for discipline.
I thought he was a good boy.
Yeah, right. Apparently not.
The priest used a hard rubber cane on the boys, always at the end of the day, so the boys had to sit through classes, anticipating the punishment once they knew they'd been written up for it. He said it was here that he developed a sense of fear.
I don't agree with the whole whipping in school. I think you should, if you want to do that, then send a note to your parents and then have them do it. I don't think it's the teacher's responsibility.
Yeah.
The school register lists his year of birth as 1900 rather than 1899. Spoto writes that it seems he was deliberately enrolled as a 10-year-old, perhaps because he was usually among the 4 or 5 at the top of his class. Oh wait, I completely skipped a sentence. Backtrack! Okay, we're gonna try this again. The school register lists his year of birth as 1900 rather than 1899. Spoto writes that it seems he was deliberately enrolled as a 10-year-old, perhaps because he was a year behind with his schooling. While biographer Jan Eder reports that Hitchcock was an average or slightly above average pupil, Hitchcock said he was usually among the 4 or 5 at the top of his class.
2 sentences you skipped.
No, I skipped one. In the middle.
Oh, the line, yes, but it was 2 sentences, so it all kind of didn't make sense.
Sorry, guys.
At the end of his first year, his work in Latin, English, French, and religious education was noted. His favorite subject was geography, and he became interested in maps and railway and bus timetables. According to Taylor, he could recite all the stops on the Orient Express. He told Peter Bogdanovich, "The Jesuits taught me organization, control, and to some degree analysis." Okay.
Hitchcock told his parents that he wanted to be an engineer, and on the 25th of July, 1913, he left St. Agnes and enrolled in night classes at the London County Council School of Engineering and Navigation in Poplar. Interesting.
In a book-length interview in 1962, he told Francois Truffaut that he had studied mechanics, electricity, acoustics, and navigation. This might be.
Then on December 12, 1914, his father, who had been suffering from emphysema and kidney disease, died at the age of 52. To support himself and his mother, his older siblings had left home by then. Hitchcock took a job for 15 shillings at a week, which is 71 shillings in 2017, as a technical clerk in the Henley Telegraph and Cable Company in Bellingfield Street near London Wall. I can't remember how much I figured out the shillings were.
I think it was only like $1.
Yeah, that's what it was.
It's not much at all.
I guess in 1800s.
Still, no, early 1900s.
That's true.
He kept up his night classes, this time in art history, painting, economics, and political science. His older brother ran the family shops while he and his mother continued to live in Salmon Lane. If his older brother was running the shops, he should have been taking care of his family instead of making the little one work.
Right? Back then, they didn't have like laws against children working. They
Oh
didn't
no,
know.
I'm just saying,
Awful
the
pictures.
brother should have been like, oh, here.
Hitchcock was too young to enlist when the First World War broke out in July 1914, and when he reached the required age of 18 in 1917, he received a C3 classification, free from serious organic disease, able to stand service conditions in garrisons at home, only suitable for sedentary work.
Sanitary work.
Sedentary, like.
Oh, sedentary work. Not moving, basically.
Serious organic disease. So he doesn't have any illness. Able to stand service conditions in garrisons at home. So why wouldn't he be able to?
I don't know. That's odd. He joined a cadet regiment of the Royal Engineers and took a part in theatrical briefings, weekend drills, and exercises. John Russell Taylor wrote that in one session of practical exercises in Hyde Park, Hitchcock was required to wear puttees. He could never master wrapping them around his legs, and they repeatedly fell down around his ankles.
I don't know what a putty is.
I'm gonna guess it's like leg weights.
Maybe. I'll try and find a picture, you guys. After the war, Hitchcock began dabbling in creative writing.
That was a long one.
I worked really hard for that sentence.
I'm so proud.
It took me years.
In June 1919, he became a founding editor and business manager of Henley's in-house publication, the Henley Telegraph, 6 pence a copy, to which he submitted several short stories. Henley's promoted him to the advertising department, where he wrote copy and drew graphics for advertisements for electrical cable.
I know a pence is like a penny. Give or take a few, like, microcents. Microcents.
I thought it was like a quarter. Their money is confusing to me.
No, the shilling was a quarter. No. There was another that was a quarter. Was it the shilling? I don't know. We watched a Jack the Ripper thing. I was trying to figure out what all each money meant. He apparently loved the job and when stayed late at the office, examined the proofs. He told Truffaut that this was his first step towards cinema.
It's 97 cents.
That's not even a cent, baby. That's .0097.
Okay, so a shilling is like nothing. Why'd you go so far?
That's Kenyan.
Okay, well, what the hell? That's a euro. That's like $1. That's not the same thing. Damn it.
I'm going to eat that sentence. He enjoyed watching films, especially American cinema, and from the age of 16, read the trade papers. He watched Charlie Chaplin, D.W. Griffith, and Buster Keaton, and practically liked Fritz Lang's de Maud Todd, 1921. While still at Henley's, he read in a trade paper that famous players Lasky, the production arm of Paramount Pictures, was opening a studio in London. They were planning to film The Sorrows of Satan by Mary Quayle. So he produced some drawings for the title cards and sent his work into the studio.
A pound is $1.28, and then like a shilling is 1/20th of a pound. So it's not even a quarter.
Yeah, it was like 24 cents.
That's crap. That is crap.
And then a pence is a penny. Basically, it's like
Close enough anyway.
half of a penny.
Yeah, right. But you read that much? Thanks. They hired him, and in 1919 he began working for Islington Studios in Poole Street, Hoxton, as a title card designer. Donald Spoto writes that most of the staff were Americans with strict job specifications, but the English workers were encouraged to try their hand at anything, which meant that Hitchcock gained experience as a co-writer, art director, and production manager on at least 18 silent films. Wow.
The Times wrote in February 1922 about the studio's special art title department under the supervision of Mr. A. J. Hitchcock. His work there included Number 13 in 1922, also known as Miss Peabody, cancelled because of the financial problems. The few finished scenes are Lost and Always Tell Your Wife, 1923, which he and Seymour Hicks finished together when Hicks was about to give up on it.
Give it up, huh? When Paramount pulled out of London in 1922, Hitchcock was hired as an assistant director by a new firm run in the same location by Michael Balcon, later known as Gainsborough Pictures.
Hitchcock worked on Woman to Woman in 1923 with their director Graham Cutts designing the set, writing the script, and producing. He said it was the first film that I had really got my hands onto. The editor and script girl on Woman to Woman was Alma Revelle, his future wife.
And you believe it. He also worked as an assistant to Cutts on The White Shadow in 1924, The Passionate Adventure in 1924, The Blackguard 1925, and The Prude's Fall in 1925.
He's busy.
Well, he's only doing parts of it.
There we go. The Blackguard was produced at the Babelsberg studio in Potsdam, where Hitchcock watched parts of the making of F.W. Murnau's film The Last Laugh in 1924. He was impressed with Murnau's work and later used many of his techniques for the set design for his own productions.
Here you go, stretch it. Sorry, I had to stretch.
In the summer.
What?
In the summer.
In the summer of 1925, Balcon asked Hitchcock to direct The Pleasure Garden, 1925, starring Virginia Volley, a co-production of Gainsborough and the German firm Emelka at the, probably going to butcher this word, Geiselgastig studio near Munich. Revel, by then Hitchcock's fiancée, was assistant director editor. What she said. Lose your place.
Okay. Although the film was a commercial flop, Belkin liked Hitchcock's work. The Daily Express headline called him a young man with a mastermind. So wouldn't that make him a young mastermind? Blah, blah, blah.
Belkin asked him to direct a second film in Munich, The Mountain Eagle, in 1926, based on an original story titled Beer at God. The film was lost. Hitchcock called it a very bad movie.
That's bad. Hitchcock luck changed with his first thriller, The Lodger, a story of the London fog, 1927, about the hunt for a serial killer who, wearing a black cloak and carrying a black bag, is murdering young blonde women in London only on Tuesday. Almost sounds like Jack the Ripper, only a little off.
Only on Tuesdays.
Only on Tuesdays and only blonde women.
So, if you're blonde, just stay off the road on Tuesdays. It's easy, right?
Oh, Alfred.
A landlady suspects that her lodger is the killer, but he turns out to be innocent. To convey the impression, footsteps were being heard from an upper floor. Hitchcock had a glass floor made so the audience could see the lodger pacing up and down in his room above the landlady.
That's cool.
That is cool. Oh my goodness.
Hitchcock had wanted the leading man to be guilty, or for the film at least to end ambiguously. But the star was Ivor Novello, a matinee idol, and the star system meant that Novello could not be the villain. Hitchcock told Truffaut, "You have to clearly spell it out to be in big letters. He is innocent. He had some problem years later with Cary Grant in Suspicion, 1941. So I guess if you're a big star, you can't be the villain."
That doesn't make any sense.
He said he could not be the villain because he was a matinee star.
Yeah, it's just weird. That doesn't make sense to me.
This is different nowadays.
Released in January of 1927, The Lodger was a commercial and critical success in the UK. Hitchcock told Truffaut that the film was the first of his to be influenced by the expressionist techniques he had witnessed in Germany. In truth, you might almost say that The Lodger was my first picture. He made his first cameo appearance in the film because an extra was needed, and was depicted sitting in a newsroom. A second appearance standing in a crowd as the leading man is arrested is in doubt.
So he's like Stephen King and all them. He's like in all of his movies almost.
Stephen King is only in like a third of his movies, babe.
I'm saying. So is Alfred Hitchcock. God.
I'm just saying he wasn't in all of his movies.
On December 2nd, 1926, Hitchcock married the English-American screenwriter Alma Revell. She lived from 1899 to 1982 at the Brompton Oratory in South Kingston.
Okay. The couple honeymooned in Paris, Lake Como, and St. Moritz. We're not even going to get a honeymoon. We can't afford it.
I want to have a honeymoon in Paris.
Well, that'd be nice. Before returning to London to live in a leased flat on the top 2 floors of 153 Cromwell Road, Kensington. Rebel was born just hours after Hitchcock converted from Protestantism to Catholicism, apparently at the instance of Hitchcock's mother. She was baptized on May 31st, 1927, and confirmed at Westminster Cathedral by Cardinal Francis Bourne on June 5th.
In 1928, when they learned that she was pregnant, the Hitchcocks purchased Winter's Grace, a Tudor farmhouse set in 11 acres on Stroud Lane, Shamley Green, Surrey, for £2,500. I think that's pounds, right?
I don't ever remember if it's pounds or euros.
Their daughter and only child, Patricia Alma Hitchcock, was born on July 7th of that year.
Revel became her husband's closest collaborator. Charles Champlin wrote In 1982, the Hitchcock Touch had 4 hands and 2 were Almas.
Alright. When Hitchcock accepted the AFI Life Achievement Award in 1979, he said he wanted to mention 4 people who have given me the most affection, appreciation, and encouragement, and constant collaboration. The first of the 4 is a film editor, the second is a scriptwriter, the third is the mother of my daughter, Pat, and the fourth is a fine cook as ever performed miracles in a domestic kitchen, and the names are Alma Ravel. Ravel co-wrote on many of Hitchcock's films, including Shadow of Doubt, Suspicion in 1941 and The 39 Steps in 1935. So she was all of those things. That was so cute.
Selznick lent Hitchcock to the larger studios more often than producing Hitchcock films himself. Selznick made only a few films each year, as did fellow independent producer Samuel Goldwyn, so he did not always have projects for Hitchcock to direct. Goldwyn had also negotiated with Hitchcock on a possible contract, only to be outbid by Selznick. Hitchcock was quickly impressed by the superior resources of the American studios compared to the financial limits he had often faced in Britain. Interesting. Really interesting.
In September 1940, the Hitchcocks bought the 200-acre Cornwall Ranch near Scotts Valley, California, in Santa Cruz Mountains. His primary residence was an English-style home in Bel Air, purchased in 1942.
I was sitting up before you even tapped me.
Tap you on the head.
Tap you in other places. Hitchcock's films were diverse during this period, ranging from the romantic comedy Mr. and Mrs. Smith to the bleak film noir Shadow of a Doubt in 1943. That's it.
Hitchcock's typical dinner before the weight loss had been a roast chicken, boiled ham, potatoes, bread, vegetables, relish salad, dessert, a bottle of wine, and some brandy. Jeez, I want to have that. To lose weight, he stopped drinking, drank black coffee for breakfast and lunch, and ate steak and salad for dinner. But it was hard to maintain. Spotter writes that his weight fluctuated considerably over the next 40 years. At the end of 1943, despite the weight loss, the Occidental Insurance Company of Los Angeles refused him life insurance. Jesus, imagine now where we're all like, he wasn't really that big of a guy.
He wasn't.
Compared to us now.
Hitchcock returned to the UK for an extended visit in late 1943 and early 1944. While there, he made 2 short propaganda films.
Propaganda? That's usually for the anti-government stuff. Like government stuff.
Well, it could be rebel stuff.
Let's see here. Why am I having such a hard time finding places?
'Cause you're crazy.
Okay. Hitchcock worked for David Selznick again when he directed Spellbound in 1945, which explores psychoanalysis and features a dream sequence designed by Salvador Dali. The dream sequence, as it appears in the film, is 10 minutes shorter than was originally envisioned. Selznick edited it to make it play more effectively. Of course. Ruin the vision. I'd be mad if I was Hitchcock.
Salvador Dali. Now that's a filmmaker's person. Hitchcock formed an independent production company, Transatlantic Pictures, with his friend Sidney Bernstein, and made 2 films with Transatlantic. God, I can't talk. One of which was his first color film, With Rope, in 1948. Hitchcock experimented with marshalling suspense in a confined environment as he had done earlier with Lifeboat in 1944.
Oh, wow, I got the long one here. Hitchcock moved to Paramount Pictures and filmed Rear Window in 1954. That sounds scary, Rear Window. I don't know about you guys, when you look in the back of your car when you're getting in the dark, I hope nobody's there.
Oh my god, there's somebody in my back seat. Run. What?
I don't know what I do if I found somebody in the back seat after looking in the rear window.
I'd probably elbow him in the face.
I probably shoot myself.
Hitchcock formed... no, I already did that one. I got it! From 1955 to 1965, Hitchcock was the host of the television series Alfred Hitchcock Presents. With his droll delivery, gallows humor, and iconic image, the series made Hitchcock a celebrity. The title sequence of the show pictured a minimalist caricature. I always have trouble with that word. Of his profile. He drew it himself. It is composed of only 9 strokes, which is real silhouette than filled. The series' theme tune was Funeral March of a Marionette by the French composer Charles Gounod, 1818 to 1893.
Hold on. You're gonna have to...
What?
It's still recording a little bit, but it's going to stop. No, not yet.
Why?
Go.
I'm done. It's
Where were
different. You have that really, really short one, right?
I already did that one.
Oh. And then
Ah.
that one.
I have another short one.
Yeah.
In 1955, Alfred Hitchcock became a United States citizen. How long was he here, though, before he became a citizen?
A long time? I don't know.
But, you know, only people from Mexico are the problem. Alright, I gotta find some box.
She's being sarcastic.
Exactly.
Just to make sure you understand.
Yes. We're all
She's
immigrants.
being sarcastic. On August 13th, 1962, Hitchcock's 63rd birthday, the French director Francois Truffaut began a 50-hour interview of Hitchcock filmed over 8 days at Universal Studios, during which Hitchcock agreed to answer 500 questions. It took 4 years to transcribe the tapes and organize the images. It was published as a book in 1967, which Truffaut nicknamed the Hitch Book. The audio tapes were used as the basis of a documentary in 2015. Okay.
Truffaut, I don't know.
I would say Truffaut.
Sought the interview because it was clear to him that Hitchcock was not simply the mass market entertainer the American media made him out to be. It was obvious from his films. Truffaut wrote that Hitchcock had given more thought to the potential of his art than any of his colleagues. He compared the interview to Oedipus' consultation of Oracle.
What? I have a headache. And my back hurts. Failing helped reduce Hitchcock's output during the last 2 decades of his life. Biographer Stephen Rebello claimed Universal forced 2 movies on him. Torn Curtain in 1966 and Topaz in 1969.
Hitchcock returned to Britain to make his penultimate film Frenzy in 1972, based on the novel Goodbye Piccadilly. Farewell Lancaster Square in 1966, and 1966.
In Frenzy, Hitchcock allowed nudity for the first time. 2 scenes showed naked women, one of whom is being raped and strangled.
Wow, that's completely not Hitchcock.
Spoto called the latter one of the most repellent examples of a detailed murder in the history of film.
He's usually very not like
Gross?
Family Plot, 1976, was Hitchcock's last film.
My head hurts. Why does my head hurt so bad? All these lights are just making it hurt more. Toward the end of his life, Hitchcock was working on a script for a spy thriller, The Short Night, collaborating with James Costigan, Ernest Lehman, and David Freeman. Despite preliminary work, it was never filmed. Hitchcock's health was declining, and he was worried about his wife who had suffered a stroke. The screenplay was eventually published in Freeman's book The Last Days of Alfred Hitchcock in 1999.
That's sad. Having refused a CBE in 1962, Hitchcock was appointed a Knight Commander of the First Excellent Order of the British Empire, KBE, in the 1980 New Year honors.
He was too ill to travel to London. He had a pacemaker and was being given cortisone injections for his arthritis. So on January 3rd, 1980, the British Consul General presented him with the papers at Universal Studios. Asked by a reporter after the ceremony why it had taken the Queen so long, Hitchcock quipped, "I suppose it was a matter of carelessness." Cary Grant, Janet Leigh, and others attended a luncheon afterwards.
Where you let off.
Somewhere near the top.
His last public appearance was on March 16, 1980, when he introduced the next year's winner of the American Film Institute Award. He died of kidney failure the following month on April 29th in his Bel Air home.
Of course he died right after my birthday.
You weren't even born yet.
So, almost everything bad seems to happen in April. Like over the years. I'm trying to find it. Donald Spoto, one of Hitchcock's biographers, wrote that Hitchcock had declined to see a priest, but according to Jesuit priest Mark Henninger, he and another priest, Tom Sullivan, celebrated Mass at the filmmaker's home, and Sullivan heard his confession. Confess, you old motherfucker.
Hitchcock was survived by his wife and daughter. His funeral was held at Good Shepherd Catholic Church in Beverly Hills on April 30th, after which his body was cremated. His remains were scattered over the Pacific Ocean May 10th, 1980.
Hitchcock was inducted into the Hollywood Walk of Fame on February 8th, 1960, with 2 stars, one for television and a second for his motion pictures.
That's cool. I didn't know they did that.
Yeah, I did.
In 1978, John Russell Taylor is what it sounds like, described him as the most universally recognizable person in the world, and a straightforward, middle-class Englishman who just happened to be an artistic genius. Everybody knows who Alfred Hitchcock looks like.
I certainly hope so, but you better put a picture up anyway.
I'm going to fill this whole thing with pictures that I have.
A 2002 movie maker named him the most influential director of all time.
2007, the Daily Telegraph critics poll ranked him the Britain's greatest director. David Gritton, the newspaper's film critic, wrote, "Unquestionably the greatest filmmaker to emerge from these islands. Hitchcock did more than any director to shape modern cinema, which would be utterly different without him. His flair was for narrative, cruelly withholding crucial information from his characters and from us, and engaging the emotions of the audience like no one else."
He won 2 Golden Globes, 8 Laurel Awards, and 5 Lifetime Achievement Awards, including the first BAFTA Academy Fellowship Award, and in 1979, an AFI Lifetime Achievement Award.
He was nominated 5 times for the Academy Award for Best Director. Rebecca, nominated for 11 Oscars, won the Academy Award for Best Picture of 1940. Another Hitchcock film, Foreign Correspondent, was also nominated that year.
By 2018, 8 of his films had been selected for preservation by the U.S. National Film Registry.
2019, Hitchcock was selected by artist Sir Peter Blake, author of the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band album cover, to appear in a new version of the cover, along with other British cultural figures, and he was featured that year in a BBC Radio 4 series.
The new Elizabethan as someone whose actions during the reign of Elizabeth II have had a significant impact on lives in these islands and given the age its character. Oh, okay.
In June 2013, 9 restored versions of Hitchcock's early silent films, including The Pleasure Garden 1925, was known as the Brooklyn Academy of Music's Harvey Theatre, known as Hitchcock's 9. The traveling tribute was organized by British Film Institute.
Oh. The Alfred Hitchcock collection is housed at the Academy Film Archive in Hollywood, California. It includes home movies, 16mm film shot on the set of Blackmail in 1929 and Frenzy 1972, and the earliest known color footage of Hitchcock.
The Academy Film Archive preserves many of his home movies. The Alfred Hitchcock Papers is housed at the Academy Margaret Herrick Library.
The David O. Selznick and Ernest Lehman collections housed at the Harry Ransom Humanities Research Center in Austin, Texas, contain material related to Hitchcock's work in the production of The Paradigm Case, Rebecca, Spellbound, North by Northwest, and Family Plot.
So that's Alfred Hitchcock in a nutshell. Alright, everybody like, subscribe, and share.
Please share.
What's your favorite Alfred Hitchcock movie?
Birds.
I just say it would have to be The Birds.
I mean, I liked Psycho, don't get me wrong, but Birds was definitely my favorite.
Alright, everybody. Do what you do, like, subscribe, and share, and we're going to record a couple more, so see you guys later.
Bye.